Good morning, my friends. Today we are talking about how to fire up your fitness. So, as you could imagine, this is one of my favorite subjects to talk about, and it's something that is so expansive that we could talk about this for years and years and years. And science comes in, and all tech changes, all of these things change. But in general, today, what we're going to hit is your personal fitness level and what you want. So we're going to go over what is the most important is having an objective. So if you're looking at like, okay, I want to fire up my fitness. What do I want to do in this year, in this day, in this month to really be at my like optimal fitness level. So today we're not going to talk a lot about food. We're going to talk a lot about movement, motion, mobility, all of that good stuff. So my first question to you is when you are thinking about your fitness level and what you want in your, sorry, I'm going to mute really quick. What do you want in your like optimal fitness level? What is your goal? What I know for sure is through all the years of us coaching and leading athletes, we are all athletes. Our sport is life. So remembering that if we have an objective, we get better results. So quite often, like, oh, I'm just going to show up for the workouts. That's just my goal. I'm just showing up for the workouts, which is great, way better than sitting on the couch. But if we can choose an objective, then it brings more focus to what we want and results will follow. So Peter Atera talks about his objective is to do like to be the most fit as a centenarian. And so his objective is I want to be able to at 90, like Nancy's mom, be able to take something like, say, I'm traveling. I want to take something and put it up in those airplane, like our baggage holders. So going through like an objective of what do you want? So maybe it's I want to um, do a special run. I want to do a bike ride. I want to do one pull up. I want to, or maybe it's long term, like when I'm 90, I want my body to be as fit and able to do everything as when I'm 70. And so we when we set these goals, we want to set them specifically for you because we're all at different like stages of our life. We're at different wants in our life. But what I would encourage you the most is to have an objective. Now, that being said, that specificity is important when it comes to okay, say I want to build stronger biceps. I want to have strong biceps. So I'm specifying my bicep curls. But if I only do bicep curls, if I set my intention for being a runner or a biker, and if I'm just doing the one specific sport or exercise, then we are much more likely to get injured. And not even as we age, it's so important at every stage of our life to really think about like your like strength and power, thinking about like your cardiovascular health, your slow twitch and fast twitch muscle fibers, thinking about mobility and flexibility. Because if we overtrain or we're super specified in, whatever it is, then we get weaknesses in other parts of our body. We get injured or could possibly get injured. And then that love that we have has to sit to the side until we can recover from the injury. So what I encourage you to do is set a goal, have a strong objective, but then step back and say, okay, what are all the things that I need to do to my objective is to get the strongest body that I can. Okay. And then from there, number two, so number one is setting a goal. Number two is how do I measure it? And there's a lot of different ways that you can measure just for free. You can, and I'll kind of go over a few, but You can see how long you can hang from the bar. So Kristen's always talking about grip strength. And if you have those little squishy balls, it increases your grip strength, or you hold weights really tight, or the farmer walks. But when you're thinking about your grip strength and you want to measure it, just anytime you see like a pull-up bar, just see how long you can hang. And if you can hang for a minute, that's excellent. If you can't, keep working that grip strength. So as we go through and we measure certain things in our physique, one thing that I think is important is doing like an in-body scan or doing like a DEXA scan. So then we can see your muscle to fat ratio. We can see where you have muscle. We can see like your visceral fat, so the fat that's stored around your organs. All of these things, once we actually can see the inside of you, we can set goals to create more strength in your abdominals, more strength in your legs, more power, bone density. That's one thing that's like a really good marker to get at every age, so you can see what and how your bone density is, and as we lose bone density, what we need to do and how we need to set goals to strengthen that part of our system. So when you're thinking about setting our goals, we're going to keep like a strong objective and have fun with it. But then also, how are we going to measure what we have right now? And then really tracking that. And what is important is that we start right now, no matter where we are, and that we work really hard with the capacity that we have to get as fit as possible. So then, as we age and natural decline occurs, we are above the curve. And so it takes concentrated effort to not just be fit in one area, but be fit in all of them: strength and power, cardiovascular, mobility, and like our body structure, what and how we're made up of. So just a couple like little things that you can think about is like running and walking a mile. If you can do it under 12 minutes, that's great. So just knowing like, okay, right now I can walk a mile at 18 minutes. My goal is to get myself under 12 minutes. So have a walking or running. If you are running under like that 10-minute, if you have no injuries, is awesome. Really understanding your resting heart rate. So taking your heart rate in the morning, or if you have like a tracker, knowing that anything under 60 is really good. Anything over 60 is when we are working in, and this is in general, right? We're all different, and I want you to definitely work with your own healthcare team and not take my word for us being like individuals, but these are just in general guidelines. So knowing your heart rate and knowing the more that you are physically fit and cardiovascularly fit, your heart rate, your resting heart rate will go down. So that's one thing to measure. Again, like that bone density, the fat to muscle ratio, and where you store your fat. A lot of times women can tend to be a little safer because a lot of times we store our fat like on our butt or our glutes, where sometimes men and some women will store their fat around their heart, which is more dangerous. So it's important to know where we store our fat. So then when we're setting our objectives, we can say, okay, these are the things that we're going to do to increase our muscle, to decrease our fat, to strengthen our bones, to increase our like balance center, all of that. So we talked about grip strength, push-ups. So it is important that we're able to do one strong push-up. If you can do 20 push-ups without resting, so 20 full push-ups, knees off the ground, that's excellent. So anything above that is really good. Anything below that, just work on it. I'm going to talk about like the idea of overloading and just not doing the same thing every single day, because we hit those like plateaus. So when you're thinking about your push-ups, if you can do one push-up off your knees, That's awesome. That's so great. That's like a huge marker, but we'll work our way to 10 to 5 to 20. Once you hit 20 and above, you're like spot on. And then you want to hold that and train that. So push ups, wall sit. So if you could do a wall sit for a minute, awesome. Like a vertical jump. So when you're thinking about like a broad jump, and again, this is no injuries. So you want to make sure that your knees are healthy and that you're not just doing this off the couch, that you already have like the strong muscles for it. But when you do a broad jump, if you measure from your toes to your heels, and if you can jump, which is a lot, the height of your body, that is excellent. For women, it's usually like the height of your shoulders, but knowing like that vertical jump is a good measure for that power and and also strength, because you're utilizing your glutes, so landing soft. And this is why it's also really important as we go into these skills like box jumps, vertical jumps, pull-ups, that and push-ups, everything. It's so incredibly important to have a coach, because your coach will watch you like when I'm even like watching myself in the video, I can see all of a sudden my elbows are flaring out, or I'm landing really heavy in my broad jump. If you have a coach that will help you, like with when we're thinking of like overloading and like progressing that like 3 to 5% weekly, so it's very like small progressions, you'll have a coach that can help you push into those levels. So a 1 minute plank is a really good marker of core strength. So practicing those planks. Let's see what else. Yeah, and neck flexibility. So that was the other one thing I wanted to talk about, is neck flexibility. You can have somebody stand behind you. You could do it right now, just sitting up or standing up, but real straight in the spine, pushing your neck back just a little bit so we're not leaning forward. So push your neck back just a little bit, and then look to the left and just see what you can see peripheral, and then look to the right and see if you have the same mobility. So as we're looking at like neck mobility is incredibly important. Also looping your arms. You can see I have a real, so here my loop is I have great shoulder mobility, but then this one I have not great shoulder mobility. And so that I know that I need to hold a towel and work this shoulder, because there's tightening in my shoulder for whatever reason, probably crashing, skiing and snowboarding, or holding your child on one arm your whole life, or all of these like natural things. But and just assessing, and that's why I love like yoga so much, and I love bar classes, because you can really assess from side to side, and doing an in-body scan, you can see from side to side, how is your mobility equal, or do we need to give one side a little more attention than the other? So when we're talking about strength and power, it's not just doing a strength and power exercise. So it's not just doing a box jump or a deadlift. The first thing is you want to do it with good form, because going back to that injury, you're never going to gain strength and power if you continually get injured. So form is first. So the first thing I tell myself as an athlete is I focus on my form before I put any challenge into my body. So I'll do some reps without weight, possibly, really thinking about the things that need to be engaged in my body to properly perform. And then the next thing is adding intensity and power. So if I have really light weight for my deadlift and I'm just kind of going through the motions, I'm going to, one, hit a plateau, two, not gain that strength and power that I'm looking for. So like a lot of times you're thinking like 3-1-1. So with like you come down, like, so just so say for a deadlift. So I'm coming down for a count of 3, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, catch my form at the bottom, navel to spine, shoulders back and down, and then hard up. So a strong, powerful pull. Same thing with the box jump. If my goal is to increase my power and increase my strength, my intensity needs to be there. Form first, then intensity. Um, it is like the thing I think about the most when I'm working out, and it's like an active meditation. It's such a good opportunity. If my mind is on my coffee or what I need to do for the rest of the day, I'm not going to get the results. If you want to fire up your fitness, you need to think about, okay, I'm doing a bicep curl. Everything inside me is right here at the front of my arm. Concentric, eccentric, lifting, lowering, shoulders down and back, brace breathing, all of these things that we learn as we consistently show up for our body. But we have to get really significant results, our mind needs to stay in our body. We need to be our own coach and learn how to really push our body in a safe space, right? We don't want to push into injury, but we do want to push into strength and power. Okay, so I know there's like so much. I'm like, okay, I knew this was going to be like a huge topic because I love it so much. But when we're thinking about your strength and power, is form first. Well, actually, adherence is number one. So just write down adherence. It with consistency comes change. If you don't like it and it's not fun for you and you don't show up and you do it once at the beginning of the year, then that's going to do us no good. So number one is adherence, is making sure that what you do you like, so you will do it with consistency and show up. That's all that really matters. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Number two, then we want to think about that overload. We want to think every time we come into your Kaya gym or wherever you're working out is just because your body is so good at adapting, right? It's good at adapting to getting off work, sitting on the couch and hitting the remote. Your body goes, okay, I'm a couch, and I turn into a couch. Your body's also good at adapting of like, I get off work and I go for a walk, and then all of a sudden you become a walker. And then but the downside of adapting is you hit plateaus. And so when we want to push into that, like firing up our fitness and getting the results that we're looking for, is thinking about how we can overload in a safe way. So just increasing the weight by 3 to 5% a week. Um, or there's a lot of different ways too. Like it doesn't, there's not one way. That's the beautiful thing about becoming fit, is there's a lot of different ways to do it. But if you are, say, a push-up and you're doing like a knee push-up, then you're going to do an off the knee push-up. Then maybe you do like a single leg push-up, or you can wear like a weight vest, or you can put both your feet up. There's a lot of ways to not hit that plateau, and then also power the push. So like we were talking about the deadlift, you come down 1, 2, 3, hold, brace, breathe, form, push, and then get that dynamic push out of whatever you're doing. So you can think about that in almost any strength. So adherence, you have to love it. You have to show up to get the results. Overload, 3 is execution. And that is where I suggest like having a coach or watching yourself in a mirror and really thinking, because we all have imbalances, is like, how can we execute the given exercise as well as our body can at this given moment? And that's where like that like active meditation comes in. Is it's not, you're not looking in the mirror to be like, oh, I wish this, or oh, look at that person. You're looking in the mirror as like a high level coach would look at you and say, how can I micro move this amazing body to get a little more out of this movement? So just remembering adherence, consistency always trumps. Overload, every time you hit a workout or an exercise, just give it a little bit more, but not too much. And then the execution is always go back to form first, then challenge. Find your form and then find that strong challenge. And I think that's it, you guys. I hope this was helpful. I'll kind of just go back through quickly how to fire up your fitness is set a goal and have an objective. And then with that objective, remind yourself like specificity is not the best when it comes to longevity. So when we want like I want us to be fired up about going for like a race or run or doing an event. All of that is awesome. I would never say don't do that, but I would always say, and that's why what we all built Kaya around is we built Kaya around the idea of build strength and power, build cardiovascular endurance, and build mobility and flexibility. And so remembering showing up to all of like different types of programming so that you really can strengthen your body evenly, so then we're not overdeveloped in one and then we end up kind of cutting our like, and I don't want to say life short, but sometimes that is the case. Like if you're not building muscle and you're only doing these endurance workouts, muscle is like our fire for life. And so really thinking about how you can be specific with an objective, but then be open to be really fit in all the different aspects of your body and what she needs. Measure, so get an in-body done. I do mine like 3 times a year, so I do them at every brick. So I watch that I'm not losing muscle. It's really easy to lose muscle. And so I look at that muscle number and I am determined. I know when a in-body is coming up and I'm like, ah. So I am obsessed with that muscle number. Knowing like your visceral fat is that number is really important as well. Bone density is a great one. And then just going through those quick tests of like, how is your grip strength? How is your cardiovascular? How is your mobility? And what we can do to have like those pre-markers so we can like monitor. I can do 1 push-up now. In 3 weeks, I want to be able to do 5 push-ups and just go from there. Adherence, number 1, with consistency, overload, execute, and have fun. Okay, I love you guys. Thank you for being on. Always give me feedback. I want these to be like really helpful and things that you can set goals that feel realistic for you. I'm very honored to be one person in your life that is a coach and that cares about you. So I do really appreciate you guys showing up for yourself and showing up for us. And I'm here for you. Bye.